this so we can share it later. All right. So we will have that hopefully available for others who come in later on as well. So it'll give it a few minutes for more people to join. I mean, anything that's kind of interest specifically that you kind of want to know, we're going to definitely talk about the FTX and the big crash around that. We're going to talk about what's going on in the, in the Africa diaspora, what's going on there. Anything particularly of interest that you want to make sure that we cover, that we talk about?
No, not today. You mentioned a few things that I'm interested in hearing about already.
Okay.
So
sounds good. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Richard. All right. And Richard, I'm going to add you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and welcome. Yeah, I can. I'm going to also make you a co-host so you can let people into the meeting once we get started. Okay. And there you go, Richard. All right, and we got Elizabeth joining, and Richard, I know you are in Ghana, and Elizabeth joining from Kenya. We got Atlanta, we got the UK. I'm currently on the west coast of the US, so. All right, we'll give it a few more minutes for more people to join here. Make sure we get enough folks. Again, anybody who's got specific things they want to talk about, feel free, please, to do that. I'm going to share my screen in a moment here, because we will definitely be getting into a lot of what's happened in the crypto space. And obviously, unfortunately, we've had the crash news here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let's go on and share that. Okay, so we'll put that up on screen. Everybody see my screen okay?
Yes,
Yep.
I can see your screen.
All right.
Yep.
Good. All right. Let's go up to the participants. Richard, if you can do me a favor, if you can just send a reminder out on Twitter and ask one you to do that on LinkedIn and Facebook, let people know we're starting now.
Yes, I'm doing that.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Here. All right. So we'll give it a few more minutes and let other people join in with us here, and then we'll get into it. A lot to cover today. All right. How is it in Atlanta? Is it cold over there? Or are you guys not getting too much into fall yet? Amina?
It's chilly out. It's chilly in Atlanta.
Chilly?
Temperature has dropped.
Okay.
Yeah.
This out too. We got more joining. There's Wendy. Welcome, Wendy. Okay, and Wendy, you are there. Let me also add you in so that you are able to let people in as a co-host and joining from Ghana.
Okay.
So we're going to cover the FTX crash, the Sam Bankman-Fried, get a little detail into what happened and what's happening there, what it's going to mean possibly for the markets. And we're going to cover a lot of the stuff that's been happening in Africa and diaspora as well in the last several months. We've been doing Clubhouse sessions, but this is the first one that we've done on Zoom, I think, since the beginning of this year and the last year. So we're going to have quite a bit to cover. We're going to try to do a few of these. Richard will plan to schedule, several of these coming up here as well. So we'll get ready for that. All right, let's see who else we have. We got Noel, got Brian, got Amina, Richard, Elizabeth, Wendy. We'll give it a couple more minutes as other folks are joining. Just remind other people that we're getting started. There we go. Got Ivy coming in. Welcome, Ivy. Welcome to the session. Where are you joining us from today?
She's joining from Kenya. You remember
Kenya.
our
Oh, very good. Welcome, Ivy. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you join us back again.
Thank you so much.
All right, very good. We'll just give it a few more minutes as others come in. I think somebody else is just coming in right now. All right, who's that? Kweku, welcome. And you're on camera, which is great. All right, where are you joining us from, Kweku?
Hi, I'm joining from Scotland,
Scotland.
United Kingdom.
Very good. Welcome.
Yep.
Glad to have you in the session. And Kweku, Ivy, everybody's just joined. If there's particular topics that you're interested in, we will be talking about the FTX, obviously, the crypto crash that just happened. We'll be talking about Africa updates, diaspora updates, some of the other long-term things for us to keep in mind. But if you have questions, put them in the chat or let me know if there's things you want to cover. We're going to just cover kind of everything to update going into the fall and getting ready to go into the new year. So Kweku, if you have anything, just let me know or put it in the chat. Same thing, Ivy, you just joined us as well. Just let us know if there are things that you would like to cover or talk about. Do you have any info on what is developing in ENS domains in Web3 space? You up to, okay, so I guess that's the right message, but can you elaborate on what you'd like to know about that? Noel? And I'll keep these all in a list here so we can answer them as we go as well. Okay, so we will just go around, do some quick introductions here. If everybody wants to just kind of introduce themselves, because part of the meetup is really kind of networking, get to know everybody who's here. Just let us know, let the whole group know where you're joining from. And if you got some experience already with crypto, if you joined a session before, and obviously any other little thing that you're interested in potentially this time. So Kweku, since you're coming up first on my screen, do you want to just unmute and introduce yourself? Say hello.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm based in Scotland, as I said earlier. I'm currently doing MSc in cybersecurity. Now, my interest in crypto really leans towards that, and cryptography is a module along the path, the things that I'm taking at the moment. So my interest and my curiosity has led me to this platform tonight. Just trying to learn as much as I can.
Great. Welcome. And also, when you guys are updating, if you want to turn your camera so people can see you, if you're ready, prepared for that, please feel free to do that. That's always nice to see faces. So Noel, you want to just say hi to everybody, let us know where you're joining from, maybe a little bit about what your kind of interest in the crypto and the blockchain space. Noel, are you there? I see you're unmuted, but I'm not sure. I can't hear you. All right, I will go and come back. Brian, you want to say hello, unmute, say hi, and just introduce yourself to everybody?
I need to register for
Man.
What's that? I think your audio is not, I think the audio is having a problem. Okay, well, Noel, I think you said you're joining from the UK, right? So we've got that there for everybody to see. And I think your audio might be not coming through clearly. Brian, go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian. I'm from Kenya. I really don't have much experience with crypto, so I'm hoping to learn a lot from this meeting. Yeah, I guess that's all.
Great. All right, welcome. And Amina, do you want to say hello, unmute, just introduce yourself?
Yeah,
Let
sure.
people
Mhm. Hi, my name is Amina, and I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm currently in telecom, but I've been involved with crypto since about 2016. So I'm just curious to get, I like to know about the latest updates, especially as it relates to Africa. And that's about all. Have for now.
Great, welcome. All
Thank
right,
you.
let me go over to Richard. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Richard. I'm from Ghana. I've been in the crypto space for a while now. I'm just here to learn what's new and then some take homes as well. So I think that will be it for me as well.
All right, Richard, thank you. And Elizabeth, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Kenya. I work in the auspicious agile and blockchain. So I'm glad to be here and learn maybe a few new updates on what's happening in the blockchain world. So yeah, feel free to share and, let's learn and also just discuss what we need to change in Africa. Yeah.
Very good. All right, Ivy, you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ivy. I am from Kenya also. I don't have so much knowledge on crypto. I am hoping to learn. Yeah.
Great, well, you're the right place, Ivy. That's what we're here for. And if anybody wants to turn on their camera besides me, even introduce yourself, that'd be good. It's a little lonely. All right, so let me go over. Wendy, did you want to say hello, introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. So my name is Wendy and I'm from Ghana. I work with Auspicious Blockchain as well, and I'm happy to be here with all of us. So I'm here to gain additional knowledge in crypto and blockchain. Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting you all virtually.
Very good. And we have George who joined, and we're just doing introductions. So if you want to say hi, let us know where you're joining from, and if there's any interest particularly you have as we do our session today on updates and what's happening in the space.
Hey, George, everybody. I'm joining from Houston. No, I'm in the group, but I usually don't come to join. So I was just wanting to catch up with this, especially when I saw the FTX filing bankruptcy. So it's a lot of queries, right? So I said, let me join in and see.
We're definitely going to be getting into that. So yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, welcome and welcome everyone. I think Richard, Elizabeth, Wendy, you should be able to let people in as they join. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. For those who haven't met me, I started and founded our Wakanda Meetup group. I think, what was it now? 2018, I think 2018, beginning of 2019, I think we started. We've been running about 3 to 4 years now. And really the idea is to bring together African diaspora, Africans in Africa, African Americans, bring all of us together around crypto, around blockchain, digital assets, financial inclusion, letting people be able to really get involved and engaged in, kind of their own financial future. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of crazy stuff happening in the market, but I think the potential really is still there. And that's why it's really important for us to have these kind of sessions where we can, talk about what's going on, kind of separate kind of the hype from the reality. and do that. My background, I'm obviously African-American, but my father's side is from Africa in Nigeria. Mom's side is from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. So, you know, I've actually been based in Asia prior to this around 8 years. So really been all around the world, kind of a global citizen, and, you know, all over the African diaspora as well. So hopefully we'll have a good session today, get some good answers, and happy to have you guys participate, give your thoughts on things, ask your questions. Know how easy to register for domain names if you can make use of such domain names currently in business and elsewhere. So I think if you're talking about the, well, I'll add that question. So Elizabeth, you can take note of that. I'm going to add that in here as we go into our Q&A session. So we're going to hold on to that one. There's a question that I have there. Let me go ahead, and I'm going to basically, we'll be going through today first, the big thing on everybody's mind, which is a market crash, the FTX, the Sam Bankman-Fried. Right, so that is not, that was not something any of us was hoping was going to happen, right? That was not a great thing. It obviously impacted the prices. It's impacted the market. You know, we had something similar happen with Terra Luna, which happened back in June. So the market's taken a few hits. But one of the things that I would note, even as we look at that, I'm going to change my screen around here. Let me see if I can adjust it. Hold on a second. All right. So if we look, and hopefully everybody can see my screen, I'm going to switch over to another one. Even as we look at the Bitcoin price right now, which is currently around 16,592. Not sure if that just updated. Certainly that is down, but something I want people to keep in mind is that even though we are down in price, and that's certainly not the only thing to think about, even though it does matter, but even though the prices are down, what we can see is if you look at, this is a logarithmic view of the markets, right? So I like to look at that. It gives you kind of a clearer show of the trend. Going from 2014, this is Bitcoin, which really drives most of our market prices. We can see basically back in 2014, it was down $100 or less, right? And now you can see on a logarithmic scale, which is right there, you can actually see the logarithmic trend, which kind of just, it makes a scale on the left so that it kind of shows the overall price trends a little better. And you can see that our trend has still been very much upward almost the entire time, right? So from being under $100 back then to being at around $17,000, even though we had this big crash, right? So we had a big crash. We had, you know, all this news that has happened, all this stuff that has happened. And yet, you know, we're definitely not back at $100, and hopefully that's never going to happen. So what we're seeing is that this has really gone, we have kept on moving in an upward trend. And if you ever look at the CoinGecko, I recommend you do that, or CoinMarketCap, just click on the link that says, when you look at the charts, click on logarithmic. So instead of looking at linear, which kind of shows just everything up and down, up and down, up and down, instead, take a look at the logarithmic, okay? So the logarithmic is going to give you a much better idea of the trend, right? Welcome, Michelle. Welcome, George. And we thank you. And so let's go on and let's take a look. We're going to get first into what's happening with that Sam Bankman-Fried. People feel free to enter in the chat, ask questions if you want to, or you can speak up and ask a question, right? So I'm going to go back. Let me shift my screen over a little bit here so we can see what I'm going to do. Instead of doing a presentation slide this time, I'm actually going to do it in a way where I'm going to just use some of the current web pages and articles that are going on, okay? Because I think that's going to be a little easier for me on prep. And also, this is something that will let you guys get an idea of what's happening right now in the market. I'm going to close that chat. All right, Elizabeth. So we can see one of the top headlines here: Binance starts recovery fund for crypto projects facing liquidity crisis. And that's actually not the one I want to start with. Let's see if we can find our bankruptcy one here. There we go. Okay. So we know the first thing is that FTX filed for bankruptcy protection in the US. Now, FTX, they're not actually an exchange that I've used very much. A lot of people have been using them. They were considered to be one of the biggest exchanges in the world. But what we've been finding out is that I guess the mindset of the owner, Sam Bankman-Fried, and his partners really wasn't consistent with the mindset of crypto, right? The mindset of crypto is that everybody should be included. Everybody should be able to access finance. Everybody should be able to participate. And Sam Bankman-Fried basically was very busy trying to make sure that he and a small group were the only people who were going to have control for regulation and everything else. So this guy was really not with the spirit of crypto. I'm trying to think of maybe an example that could explain it. Obviously, what happened is, his whole thing crashed. Binance, who many of you are probably familiar with, hopefully many of you know who Binance is. All right, so Binance, Chaoping Zhao, or CZ as they call him, they had kind of gotten into a little bit of a, I don't know what the word is, I guess a little bit of a beef, for lack of a better word, right? So they had not really been getting along. And then when CZ from Binance tweeted and he said, look, these guys are doing some stuff that we can't be involved in, that basically triggered this whole thing. All of a sudden, you saw everything just start to crash, go down. But the thing that's interesting, I mean, I've been in this space, I think, let's see who it was. I think Amina, I think you said, you've been in this space since like 2016. So I've been in this space since about 2017, I think. 2017, yeah. So around 2017, I got into the space. And I'll tell you that FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, those are not names that I had heard at all, right? I really had not heard of Sam Bankman-Fried or FTX, and I follow this market closely up until about 6 months ago. Prior to that, this is not a guy who was like, for me, a household name, right? We'd heard of Coinbase. They were big. Binance, CZ, they were big. We had heard of, obviously, there's some other players in the space. You have Gemini, who've been around, the Gemini twins. If anybody, you guys watch the Social Network, the Winklevoss twins, right? They always were really kind of big players in this space, even though they're in the background. But this Sam Bankman-Fried guy, he just came on the scene like 6 months ago, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, this is the guy. This is, the guy who's going to, make everything happen. He is, they call him the white knight of crypto. He's here saving crypto. But it turns out that's really not what this guy was about, right? What this guy really was about was making as much money for himself as possible and trying to take over the space from everybody else who was involved, right? So that's unfortunate, but we're finding out. I mean, a lot of stuff is coming out. I'm not going to go into all of it, right? But that there's a lot of stuff about what he was doing, what he was into, the kind of crazy, things that he was doing in his company. I won't get into it. If someone wants to go down that rabbit hole, I'll let you do that. But suffice it to say, this guy was not really, he was not exhibiting the spirit of what crypto is supposed to be about, right? Crypto is supposed to be about including everybody. Crypto is supposed to be about financial inclusion, right? Crypto is supposed to be about making sure that everybody's got access to finance. And that was not what this guy was doing. He was basically getting some big money players. They were doing all kinds of complicated deals, apparently using money they didn't even have. And when they got done, they crashed the whole market, right? So this is definitely not what we are, what we're hoping for, not what we want the industry to be about. Clearly, some things are going to come out of this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Anybody got any comments or questions about Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX before I go on? We're gonna go a little deeper into this. We're gonna look at some other aspects, but feel free to unmute, comment, if you have a question about it, or you can put it in the chat. And let's talk a little bit about that before I go on into the next part. So does anybody have anything there they want to ask about, talk about with what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried with his bankruptcy before we go further? George?
No, not yet, John. I'm just listening.
Okay, no problem. All right, so anybody else have any kind of question on that? We're going to go on here, right? So one of the next things that really happened in this is that, let's clear that. You can see the next thing that kind of has happened is how are we going to get our money back? Okay, so yeah, that's a big question. I don't know if people are going to get their money back, unfortunately. That has happened multiple times now, right? You got to be very careful. So if you have, you join one of these crypto exchanges, the power of it is it's not regulated real heavily, so I can send money anywhere in the world when I want to. But the downside of it is, right, it's not regulated, so they can take your money and go and never come back. And that's what's happened. It's happened multiple times. You cannot allow yourself to think that if you are your own bank in this space, which means that you have to take care of your own security, you have to take care of making sure that you don't get ripped off, you have to watch out for hackers and scammers. You have to do that, right? And the scammers can be, the really kind of questionable people in a hoodie somewhere. They can also be, they always show in the picture, they can also be a really rich guy that everybody says is, hey, you know what? A really rich guy who everybody thinks is the best thing that's ever happened, right? Yes. This is my son. Apparently he has a question. What can I answer for you?
Will we need banks in the near future, or will crypto be our more futurized bank?
All right, good question. So I'll touch on that a little bit now and a little bit later, right? So the idea is for probably 2/3 of the world, I'd say probably about 6 billion people, right, who don't really have access to money in banks easily, including most of us across Africa, the African continent. This will be our future finance. This will be our future banks, including much of your generation, son, because a lot of people really aren't trusting banks like they used to, right? Because banks can do the same thing. They can actually stop and turn off your money too. They can actually turn off your access when they want to. So I think a lot of people are not going to be using a traditional bank as much, and they're going to be using this as their bank. Now, talking about how that applies to what's going on with kind of this crypto and people getting their money back, same thing happened in 2008. Now, some of you may not remember that. In 2008, in the US, we had a financial crisis, okay? And what happened was people couldn't get their money out of the banks. In fact, that's happening in Greece now. That's happening in many places, even now, Turkey, right? So, I mean, this is happening around the world. People put their money in the bank. They think, hey, I'm going to get my money back. I'm good. I'm going to have it. And it turns out they don't get their money back. Now, obviously, they don't advertise that as much as they've been advertising Sam Bankman-Fried, right, and the FTX. Anytime something goes wrong in crypto, people love to advertise about that, right? Like, crypto, scam, right? Everybody's scam. So everybody loves that. But nobody talks about Turkey. People can't access their money in Turkey. People don't talk about Greece, where people can't get their money in Greece and it's devaluing. People don't talk about how fiat currency all over the world, you know, in Nigeria, I know we're going way down in value. I think even in Ghana now, it's going way down in value. So people are not talking about what's happening with the traditional money and banking system, right? People love to talk about crypto, and definitely this is bad, but there's a lot of other bad stuff going on, quiet as it's kept, like we say in America, right? So there's a lot of bad stuff happening. It's not just Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, as bad as this is. So people getting their money back, I hope and pray they do, but there's no guarantee that's going to happen, okay? So Binance starts a recovery fund for crypto projects facing liquidity crisis. We can see here what's happening now is Binance, this is CZ, this is a guy who kind of had a beef, right? He had a beef with Sam Bankman-Fried, and I won't go
Hey,
deep.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, George. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I think you're not hearing me. I have a quick question before I jump off a meeting.
Go ahead.
And the question is related to Sam and people not getting their money back. So maybe it's one or two questions in one. Okay. The first one, if people are not going to get their money back from this exchange, does it mean Sam has access to it, like he's actually going away with it, or is he also not getting it? And the second part of that is, if you had a cold storage, would you still have access to your assets, or it doesn't matter whether you have it or cold storage or not?
Those are great questions, George. So let's hit the first one. As far as I know, Sam is on the run. Okay, that's my understanding. I don't know if anyone knows exactly where he is. Somebody said he was in the Bahamas. I don't know if he is in the Bahamas or not. But the bottom line is, wherever he is, I don't think he wants to be found, right? So he's kind of hiding out at this point. We've had this happen with anytime somebody has this kind of thing happen, you know, a lot of people would like to get their hands on him. So I don't think he wants anybody to find him, right, George? He's hiding out. I'm pretty sure he has access to some of the funds. I don't think he has access to all of them, right? I'm sure he's a smart guy. He got his own cold storage, right? He had his own crypto wallets. He got backdoor access. We've heard about several funds transfers happening from the company, even in Bahamas, actually, in the last few days. So we have to guess that this guy probably has access to the funds. Now, I can't say that definitively, but there's a good chance that he's accessing those funds, right? At least some of them. Now, they don't have their hands. He's not in custody. He's not, you know, whatever it is, even though there is a formal bankruptcy proceeding that started. So they're going to start probably going through and seeing how can we get people's money back, or what, you know, what assets, how can you pay back these creditors? But I mean, think of Celsius. Celsius is about 5 months ago now, 4 or 5 months ago, they went bankrupt, right? They shut down. I had a few funds, some funds in there. The bottom line is that I haven't seen any of my funds back. I'm not holding my breath. I'm probably going to take a tax write-off. But unfortunately, and this is the painful thing, it's a very painful lesson, we should never leave the majority of our crypto or digital assets sitting on an exchange. I don't care if it's Binance. I don't care if it's Gemini. I don't care if it's Coinbase. I don't care if it's Kraken. I don't care what it is. Okay. Luno. I don't care what exchange it is. We have a saying in crypto, which is not your keys, not your crypto, which means if the keys aren't yours, it's not your crypto. Anybody can shut down that website access anytime. And that's it for you, right? You're done. And this is not, I'm not being callous here, but I really want us, especially our people around the world, to get this. Don't leave your crypto sitting with somebody else. And then like, oh, they didn't give me access to it. Understand that they can shut off that website, just like they can stop you from logging into Facebook anytime. They can stop you from accessing their exchange anytime, right? So that's the first part, George. And I'll let you come back if you have more question. The second part you said is, what about, cold storage? So cold storage, for those who don't know about it, that's like a ledger or a Trezor. That's a physical wallet. Looks something like my phone, but smaller. Okay. And it stores your crypto with your private keys for you. So nobody else can get that. Okay. It's stored with a PIN and a password. Nobody can access it but you, or unless you give people access to your device and your password. Okay. So that nobody on the internet can get that. It is completely yours. Even if Sam Bankman-Fried or Sam Bankman-Fried 2, whoever that is next time, runs off with all the crypto, they cannot get your cold storage assets, okay? In fact, even if you have a wallet that's not cold storage, like Exodus or Trust Wallet, anything where you, or MetaMask, where you have your own keys, right? So you write down your own private key, usually there's a set of phrases, you need to write those down. When you have your private key, nobody else without access to your private key or with the cold storage, your cold storage and your private key, they cannot access those funds. So George, you bring out a really important point. You don't have to start worrying when you see the next Sam Bankman-Fried, and there's always, unfortunately, another fraud, right? They're all out there. They're going to keep being out there. Whenever there's money, there's going to be people who are frauds. So if they run off with all the funds, you still don't have to worry about it if you have your own self-custody wallet and cold storage or cold storage wallet. George, does that answer your question? Do you have more on that one?
No, it does. I think the missing piece for me is once, let's say, Sam owns this FTX marketplace and the marketplace crashes and dies away, can I still access my funds using another exchange? Like now that I have this cold storage and the FTX doesn't exist anymore, what's my next move to recover my assets?
So if you had your funds in your own cold storage, you could go to any other exchange, right? You could go to Binance, you could go to Coinbase, you could send your funds to, you could also do like a DeFi exchange like Uniswap, or there's a lot of options, right? I mean, so basically it's almost limitless. If you are holding your own crypto, and I actually like DeFi because even when you connect to a DeFi exchange, it still stays in your wallet, right? It doesn't go onto their exchange. It stays in your wallet. And that's the real difference between DeFi and centralized. FTX is a centralized exchange, meaning they take control of your crypto, or Sam Bankman in Bahamas with his friends, right? Now, and I don't like keep saying Bahamas, frankly, because I don't want to keep on blaming the Caribbean. They love to do that, and I don't like that. But nonetheless, Sam Bankman is off somewhere with your funds, okay? If you have your funds in your private key, or you have your own cold storage wallet, then you can send it, and you can send it directly to somebody if you want, or you can send it to any exchange or a DeFi exchange, which I really like, because DeFi exchanges, you don't give up your key. You don't give up access and control to your crypto, your digital assets, which means it's still yours, even when you connect to that DeFi. So like we said, Pancake Swap, Shiba Swap, Uniswap, all these different ones, it stays in your wallet, which means nobody can run off with it because it's still in your wallet, right? As long as the protocol stays stable, you're fairly good. Now, I mean, there's still risks there, but there's a lot less risk in centralized exchanges where they take control of your funds, right? That's like the traditional banking model. Does that answer that question, George? Do you have more on that one?
No, it does. Thank you so much. That's what that's the piece I was missing. And thank you, everybody. I'm sorry, John. I think I had another meeting coming up. I need to jump on that. But this actually answers my question.
Sure,
thank you so much.
Glad to have you in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wendy says, how do I get my keys? For example, I have some coins at Binance, did not have these keys you're talking about. Am I safe then? Well, Binance is a fairly reputable exchange, but Wendy, I would still get those coins off of Binance. So what would I do? I would get a Exodus wallet. I would get a Ledger cold storage. I would go to get a MetaMask wallet. These are some of those popular wallets, some of the best ones. I would get the Trezor wallet, which is a physical wallet, and transfer your crypto off of Binance into your own personal wallet. Okay. If you're not going to be putting it in your bank account, you're not going to be changing it over to fiat currency. I would take that crypto off the exchange. It's very easy to do. Just put an address, say, I want to transfer to this address, and transfer it to your private wallet where you have the keys. And we can talk about the keys. It's basically going to be a phrase of like 12 or 24 words where you're able to basically set up your wallet. So you need to make sure you have a wallet. Exodus, like I say, is one I really like. MetaMask, Trust Wallet is fairly good. I like those. Trezor, Ledger, those are cold storage wallets. Get one of those wallets. They're generally free, not the Trezor and the Ledger, but the other ones are free. And set it up, install it on your computer, install it on your phone, write down your own keys, and transfer your coins off of Binance into that wallet. Okay, because I mean, you're somewhat safe in Binance because they're a reputable exchange. But the bottom line is we don't ever know what could happen next. In 2008, nobody thought that they would, shut off access to some of our funds in America, but they did in the banks. So you never know what's going to happen. You are definitely better off to get that off and put it in your own wallet with your own keys. And when you want to put it back on the exchange, take it out of your wallet, send it back to the exchange, and then you're good to go. Okay, so that is what you want to do. You don't want to just leave that sitting out there on Binance because, Lord forbid, but it could happen, right? So don't do that. When you can let me know if that answers your question. Quick, you said, go ahead. Eve, is that you? Eve, did you intend to unmute? No. Okay.
I think you can just, yeah.
All right. Kweku says, looks like the crypto markets need better oversight and regulations. Kweku, that's a great point. This is something we've been dealing with for a while. We've been going back and forth about regulation. Are we going to regulate? Are we not going to regulate? How much regulation? And it's a double-edged sword, right? So the great side of there not being a lot of regulation is if I want to send, funds to my family members in Nigeria, I can. It's like, there's nothing really, it's easy. I can do it. Okay. But the bad side is, what they will send funds to me. If the bad side is that you get the Sam Bankman-Frieds, right? Which means that you got people running off left and right, doing crazy stuff and taking everybody's money. So Kweku, you're right. We need regulation, but there's a real balance because especially for Africa, for diaspora, for developing markets, how do we make sure that they don't take away our access to digital assets? How do we make sure they don't take away our access to crypto, right? How do we make sure of that? And that's really the question. We need good regulation. I agree with you. America needs it. We need it in different parts of the world. However, if we do it in the wrong way, this is going to end up just being like the traditional banks. And right now, many of you know, traditional banks, it's very hard to access it if you're in Africa. Frankly, in America, we have something called redlining. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Redlining is where many African-American communities, they can't get good loans or access to finance. So, we have to be very careful that, yes, we definitely do need regulation. I think that's going to come up here. In fact, let me flip to that one really quickly here, Kweku, because you kind of are leading into another one we're going to talk about here. Okay. So if you can see that, can everybody see that? Crypto execs ask for US for clear regulatory policy. You see that? So this is actually what's happening right now. They're saying, look, CEOs, Coinbase, Ripple, Circle are saying, look, we need clear policy. We need clear framework that, by Senator Elizabeth Warren, right? And the regulators want to regulate. They're going to regulate. Things like this are going to make regulation happen. You better believe that. I believe that. I have no doubt. But the thing is, it has got to be good regulation, right? What we don't want is some crazy regulation that says, hey, you want to send your crypto, you want to send crypto to the Bahamas, you want to send crypto to the Caribbean? No. You want to send crypto to Africa, to Ghana, to Kenya? No, you can't do it. You want to do this? No, you can't do that, right? We don't need that kind of regulation because that kind of regulation is going to stop us from being able to get financial inclusion, or as America, we often say Black wealth. We're not going to be able to do that if we get bad regulation. So I agree. We need regulation 100%, but we need good regulation that is going to make sure that South Africa and Ghana and Nigeria and Kenya and Rwanda and Cote d'Ivoire and everyone else, we're all included, and Bahamas and Trinidad and Tobago and, Cuba, all of these nations and, Southeast Asia, the Philippines, We need all of these nations to be included, all the people to be included, not just, you know, the Sam Bankman-Frieds and a few rich people. Does that make sense, Kweku?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
So I think we need to be watching this as a community really carefully. We really need to be watching this, right? The regulators are going to regulate. You know, Elizabeth Warren has definitely not been very friendly to crypto, so we got to watch what kind of regulation they're pushing for. But the bottom line is that it needs to be something that, yes, there needs to be regulation, and yes, it needs to be friendly to all of those, whatever, 6 billion people around the world who are not financially included. We need financial inclusion for all of us, not just the Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world. All right, so you can see, as we talked about, and feel free to keep those great questions you guys are putting in, and I definitely want to keep addressing all of that. Crypto execs asked for clearer US regulatory policy after the FTX collapse. So the CEOs are coming in, Coinbase, Circle, Ripple. They're saying, look, we want clearer framework regulation, because obviously everybody's scared. They're like, if I put my money on an exchange, am I going to lose it? My general rule is, for centralized exchanges, I don't leave more than like a few $100s at the very most, because I don't want to, if I lose the money, if I lose access to it, I don't want it to be like, okay, now that's over, that's all that I had. You never want everything you have to be left on one of these centralized exchanges, even Binance, even though it's a good exchange. Never leave everything on a centralized exchange. Not financial advice, but never leave it on a financial exchange, okay, on a centralized exchange. So regulation is definitely coming. There's no doubt about it. It's going to happen. I see Azuka, you joined. You want to just say hello to everybody, let everybody know where you're joining from today?
Hey everyone, nice for me to be here. It's been a long time I joined the meetup. I'm joining from Cambridge, United Kingdom.
All right, welcome. So there's another headline here. This is another response. So Binance, Wendy, you're talking about Binance. I think they're one of the better exchanges, but again, remember, they're still centralized. Okay, they're still controlled centrally. So Binance starts a recovery fund for crypto projects facing liquidity crisis. In fact, I might be contacting myself. Anyway, they are having a fund. Basically, what they want to do is to help crypto projects, because this has really impacted all of us, right? When you see that Bitcoin price going down like that, that impacts all of us in the space, because many of us are using crypto, right? We're using those assets. So when we take a hit like that, that is really going to be an impact to all of us. So Binance has started a fund, good for them. And then also OKX, I think, is also starting a fund. They're joining with Binance, doing that kind of thing. And we're hoping to see more that are actually going to be putting out funds to help other people in the crypto space, in the digital asset space, to be able to recover. So that's definitely something you should all look into if you're in a project or something that, really got hit hard by this. Maybe you're able to get, some assistance from those funds. I definitely would recommend looking into that, take every option you can. So this is a good thing that's coming out of it. This is a good thing happening in the space. I hope we see more of it. I hope to check into some of these things myself. So I think this is a really good one. This is what I talked about on the prices as well. Let's look at that, okay? So we talked about the prices, right? And you can see we're at 16,563. I'm going to just refresh this. I don't know. I don't think it's actually refreshing. Give me a second. 15,567. Okay. So you can see, I like to look at the max chart for the price, and then I like to look at what we call logarithmic. Okay. Logarithmic, like I said, shows you the overall trend. And this is why this is really important for us, even though it was back under $100 back here, well, much lower than that before that, 2014, up till today, where we're sitting around a little under $17,000. That's still a very big return. Imagine if you were somebody back here and you bought yourself, 100 Bitcoin back here at like $70, right? How much do you think you would have now, even after this crash?
So listen, let's have it 10 minutes.
Right? So you'd be sitting, if you said you got yourself, whatever, 100 Bitcoin, you'd be sitting at, make my math here, 1.6 million. About $1.6 million, okay? Even after this huge crash. So this is what's so important for us. We need to keep the big picture in perspective here. Don't just look at, oh, they had a crash, they had a crash. I can assure you the banks, Bank of International Settlements, Swiss banks, US banks, Wall Street, Hold on, I gotta mute somebody here. Who we have? Thank you. Okay, so, and let me let Kweku in. And so you can believe that all these people over the long term, they are absolutely still holding these financial assets. They're not getting rid of them. They're not, oh, we're getting out. No, they're not. And I give this example, right? Think about like gold, right? Swiss banks hold gold, right? If one of the Swiss banks crashed, would you stop using gold? Okay, or think about, we have the JP Morgan Bank in America, right? JP Morgan's a huge bank. JP Morgan, you could think of them, they're really connected to a dollar, right? They're connected to dollars. If JP Morgan Bank, crashed tomorrow, oh, Lord forbid, but let's say they crashed, would you file for bankruptcy? Would you stop using would you stop using dollars?
No.
That's the question. Would anybody stop using dollars if JP Morgan went bankrupt tomorrow?
No.
Right? And if those Swiss bank, if you had a Swiss bank, go bankrupt, would you stop using gold?
No, you can't.
No.
That's impossible.
Right? So it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Absolutely. We got Sam Bankman-Fried, we got FTX, they crashed, they went bankrupt. That's the truth. There's no other way to put it. That's what happened, right? However, does that mean you stop using Bitcoin? Open question.
No, you can't stop, because as recently, like the way Bitcoin has been going just down all the time, you can't stop using it. You'll still hold on to your coins and even add more until it shoots up, because it will shoot up. Yeah.
So to me, it's a matter of time. What's happening is the powers that be, the institutions, are trying to drive out retail, which is regular people, people in the developing world, everybody else, and they're trying to get all those coins for themselves, right? That's really been the game this whole time. They're trying to drive out regular people like you and me so that they can get all the coins. And when they get all the coins, they go, oh, look, it's up again. Now it's $1 million. Sorry, you should have kept your coins, right? Just like back here, it was like $60. They go, oh, it crashed. Look at it, it's crashed. It's only $28,000 now. And up here, oh, it's only 28,000. Oh, it's up here now. Look at that. How high is it? 14 or 19,000 or whatever it is. And like, oh no, it crashed. It's only $3,000. What they want is for you to say, you know what? We're not going to get any more. Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, never again. And then they'll continue getting it, just like getting the gold, just like getting the dollars. And then it will go up in value and you will not have any. That's, Lord forbid that happen, but that's what they're trying to do, right? The goal of a lot of these elite folks is to make sure that they continue to hold all of the valuable assets and that everybody else does not. And I'm showing you this logarithmic chart because I want you all to see that really clearly. I want you to look beyond the momentary this happened, the momentary that happened, and I want you to really see, look long-term what is going on here, okay? If you had gotten, and there's a question for anybody, back here, let's see that value, if I can see that, can you see my screen? Okay, if you had gotten this back here at $68, right? So $68 back in 2014, you got that Bitcoin, you held it. In fact, I remember my brother-in-law was talking about it back then. I wish we'd listened to him. Anyway, $68, okay? Let's say that I got that Bitcoin. Do you think that today, $68, you bought it, it's now whatever, it's crashed to $17,000. Do you think you would be sad that you bought it back in 2014? Anybody can answer that.
Heck
Who would
no.
be sad?
Heck no.
Yeah, so that's what's happening here. I want people to really step back a minute and take a look at the big picture, okay? Don't sit there looking at, oh, now obviously you got to hang on. You got to hang in there because, you're not going to get rich overnight. That's not really how this works. But if we look at what's happened over these last 8 years or even longer, there's nobody who bought Bitcoin back in 2014 who's like, I'm so sad. Oh, I wish I hadn't bought it. We all wish we bought more, but I certainly do, right? So that's the long game, right? We all need to look at the long game. Don't just look at oh, Sam Bankman-Fried's a bad guy. He's hiding in the Bahamas. Don't know why they always have to keep on throwing the Korean under the bus. But anyway, he's hiding in the Bahamas, whatever, okay? the bottom line is the picture is bigger than just Sam Bankman-Fried here and FTX. Now, I want you all to really keep that in mind, because the next time that it goes up, it could easily be well up over this 100,000 mark. You don't want to give that up because Sam Bankman-Fried's a bad guy. Does that make sense what I'm saying here? Anybody can join in, jump in, agree, disagree, other thoughts? Azuka, do you have thoughts on what happened? Not sure if I can get him there. Azuka, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have any thoughts on kind of what we're talking about there with the whole FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, the long picture for Bitcoin and crypto?
Well, a lot of people think it's going to be the end of the world for Bitcoin, but I don't think so. I think in the long run, Bitcoin is still going to go up, but before then, it's still going to go down. I think there's still a downtrend before it goes up. There's been a lot of speculation that Bitcoin might go below 10,000 and get to 9,000, but depends on the global reaction to what's happening all over the world. And we just need to keep holding, like we're playing the long game. So holding for a long time is more profitable than getting scared and selling when you're already down, like you're already down. And everyone knows in the long run, Bitcoin always goes up. So that would be the little for now. I would say selling now or getting scared would be the wrong way to go about it.
Yep, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, price predictions, I don't know, but absolutely. I mean, it is a long game. We're playing a long game here. And I think that's really important for Africa, African diaspora, African American. It's really important that we start playing that long game, because everybody else has been playing the long game for a long time, right? And we have not been playing the long game. We've been playing a very short game where, we trade, we give a few assets, they get whatever, they take that from us, and then and that's it. But they've been playing a very long game. Like I said, I lived in Singapore for quite a long time. And I can tell you in Asia, especially China, it's all long-term thinking, right? Nobody's thinking in terms of what's going to happen in a week. Yeah, you think about a week, but they're really thinking about 5 years. They're really thinking about 10 years. They're really thinking about 50 years. They're not just thinking about a week. So we have to start thinking that, playing that long game as well, from an African diaspora, African American perspective. We have to think in the long term. We can't only think of it as, it's crashed, this guy, it's down, right? I mean, if we looked at it, we had a crash back in 2018 when I got into the market. I know a lot of people were asking me, why are you still in the market? It's never going to go anywhere. I mean, let's look at that, right? So 2018, I got in to the market somewhere around here. It got down to around $3,000. Okay. I stayed in the market, right? But what if I'd listened to those folks at $3,000, I got out? Where's the market today? Right. And there was a big crash back in 2017, 2018, beginning 2018, for any of you who remember it. There was a big crash, right? So I think the real takeaway for me here is it's a long game. Don't get caught up in short-term thinking. Obviously, don't put everything your family needs to eat into the crypto market. That wouldn't be smart. But also don't sell everything you have, right? Because if you sell and get rid of everything, like Azuka said, you're going to miss out when all this stuff goes up again, which it's very likely it will. You're going to miss out when, oh man, Bitcoin just hit 500,000, but you sold all of yours, right? So don't get caught like that. Make sure that you're looking at the long game. And to what Wendy's point, do self-custody. Don't leave it on Binance only. Don't leave it on any exchange only. Get yourself a wallet. Get an Exodus wallet. I can give some links later. Give an Exodus wallet. Get a Trust wallet. Get a MetaMask wallet. Get a cold storage like a Trezor or a Ledger, and store your own crypto. Store your own coins. Don't just leave it sitting on an exchange. Okay. I think those are some of the big takeaways. Are there other questions or thoughts about the Sam Bankman-Fried, the FTX, the crypto crash before we go on?
John, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
What is there in the way of insurance in this space?
Okay, that's a great question. I think the short answer is none, but the longer answer is, I mean, there are ways that you could probably hedge, you know, kind of your investments. You can certainly use stable coins, even though you got to be careful with those too. So one thing you can do is you can put some of your funds in stable coins, and stable coins usually sit at $1 US, which means, you know, they're still in crypto. You can probably still get some interest on them somewhere, right? But you are not taking the risk of your going up and down, up and down. You don't have all that volatility. Obviously, you also lose the upside potential along with the downside risk. So stable coins is one form of insurance that you can use. But again, everything in this market, you are your own bank. So it's your own bank, right? You can't really, we don't have a lot of insurers right now that I'm aware of that will actually cover and insure you for your crypto. I mean, I'm sure somewhere it's possible something like that exists out in DeFi maybe, but I would simply say I wouldn't bet on it. I think stable coins are a good option. Like we said, you know, stays at $1. So, you know, even if the market goes up, market goes down, you can kind of, you know, keep stuff in digital assets without the downside risk. But there's not a lot of great insurance options that I'm aware of. I don't know, Azuka, do you have any thoughts, insurance? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I kind of heard it mentioned, but you know, as you say, the options are few and far between. And I don't have any reference to hand which I could, you know, provide to individuals that's on this webinar.
All right, so no, that's a great question. I think it's something that as this industry evolves, we're probably going to see more insurance. We're going to see more with regulation. We're going to see a lot more things. They might start requiring insurance for some things, I'm sure. But today, you really don't have a lot of insurance. It's kind of just like your own, I guess, risk, you know, your own risk management, right? Put some in stable coins, put some stuff and take it out in the fiat, take your profits. I think another form of insurance is dollar cost averaging, meaning when you see the markets going up, keep buying, keep buying, keep buying. You see them going up or the top, or you see them going down, keep selling some, keep selling some, keep selling some, right? So you're constantly, you know, selling whatever, you know, like $100 worth or 5% of what you have or whatever it is. Every time, every week, you're doing the same thing. So you're always buying at the same times. You're always selling, you know, consistently. No matter what happens to the price, you keep doing that. That's another really good form of insurance. It's something I've done for years, dollar cost averaging. Whether the market's going up, whether the market's going down, whenever I can do it, I'm constantly doing the same purchases and the same sales, right? So I think that dollar cost averaging is a really good kind of form of insurance for you, right? And I think that using stable coins is another form of insurance, though don't bet everything on stable coins. Terra Luna crashed, right? I didn't use that one personally. I think the best stable coins are probably USDC from Circle, Compound DAI. Binance's USD coin, I think, is pretty good. I don't use that one, but that's supposed to be pretty good. And then USDT. Those are some of the top coins, and they are supposed to be backed as far as we know. I think they've released reports on their backing. So those are the most stable. But if you really want no risk, what you want to do is, you know, take some out of it and put it into regular cash or a regular bank account, right? So if you make some money, do that and dollar cost average. But most of your insurance is really your own kind of risk mitigation, your own risk strategy versus, you know, there being an insurance company that says, no, I know you have 100,000 in crypto and we're insuring you. Here's your policy. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm just saying I'm not aware of a lot of them right now. There could be some in the DeFi space, but the problem with the DeFi space is, again, you know, do you know if that insurer is actually going to pay up if something happens, right? And we don't know if they'll do that.
Well, that's true in insurance in general, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, you're right. It is true in insurance in general. Yeah, that is a good point. Let's see. We got some more links here. Did that answer your question, Noel?
Yeah, you did. Thanks.
Okay, so it looks like Kweku, you're saying need better regulation. Are you able to touch on hackers who steal or try to steal crypto and what young Africans stepping into the blockchain industry can do to protect their assets or mitigate such situations? Found an article, Willow, quite interesting. You got one independent on Silk Road. Okay, so Silk Road was actually quite a long time ago. That was like a black market. I don't like using that term, but whatever it is, kind of like a criminal market. Basically, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. All right. So that was like a criminal market place that used Bitcoin. And that stuff definitely exists. Bitcoin and crypto do get used in criminal transactions. But I mean, to be frank, you know what gets used most in the criminal transactions? Anybody know? What is probably the number one used thing for paying for criminal stuff?
The dollar.
The dollar. Thank you. Okay. So while we love this, we see a lot of news reports, they love to say, oh, look at how much crime Bitcoin. I think they said that less than like 1 or 2% or something like that of all transactions on the blockchain could potentially be traced to being criminal activity, which means like 98% is legitimate activities, right? There are hackers out there. Wherever there's money, there's going to be hackers. Okay. You're going to have your hackers. You're going to have your so-called black hat, your white hat hackers. You're going to have people who are trying to get money. People who are trying to get fame. You're going to get your Sam Bankman-Frieds who are just scammers, basically. Okay. You're going to get all of that. So you have to be very careful. You know, I know coming from Nigeria, and it really bothers me because they always try to give us this reputation of all being scammers, which we're not, but that certainly is out there, right? But you have to be very aware of scams because they exist. They're going to continue to exist. Don't ever give anybody your private keys. Don't ever give anybody access to your wallet, right? You know, treat it just like you would your bank card. If you have a bank card and a PIN number, don't give that to people, right? You have to make sure that you're taking security steps yourself. Now, there's no guarantee. Certainly pray if you're a person who prays because that helps, okay? Make sure that you are covering your own security. Don't just be like, oh, you know, I've got some crypto and I'm sure it'll be fine. When there's money, I mean, even when you got a $17,000 Bitcoin, like we do right now, roughly 17, people still want that. That's a lot of money, right? So you should not think that, oh, hackers aren't going to come for it. No. And even when you got perfect regulation, I mean, I've been in financial services industry in my career for like 2 decades. Okay. So I'm not dating myself, but 2 decades more. And I can tell you in financial services, these banks and financial institutions, they're getting hacked constantly. That's why cybersecurity is so big for them. They're constantly hackers attempting to hack them, who do hack them. There's phishing attacks. There's all kinds of attacks constantly. So you've got to expect, look, hackers are coming after me. People are going to try to get at my digital assets. Use cold storage. Don't give out your keys. You know, somebody starts contacting you, hey, if you send me 1 Bitcoin, I'll send you 5. That's not going to happen. They're not going to send you 5 Bitcoin, right? So do not just fall for everybody who comes up and goes, oh, you know what? We're going to give you this. So there was one, I think they had like Elon Musk, and somebody was using Elon Musk in a video and said, oh, Elon Musk says if you send this much crypto, you'll get this much crypto back. I think that we got that quite a few times spamming our group, our Telegram group, right? So do not go for, you know, everything. Look for legitimate. I try to work with the most legitimate exchanges, Binance, Coinbase, right? Gemini, they're pretty legitimate. For storage, use your cold storage, legitimate ones. You know, don't get something secondhand from somebody. Get a new one if you're going to get cold storage. Get your wallet. Make sure you secure your phone. Use a VPN, right? You have to secure this stuff yourself and pray, as I said, right? If you do that, don't just trust that, oh, you know, it's not going to get hacked. The hackers are coming. Even with a $17,000 Bitcoin, that's a lot of money, right? Kwaku, does that kind of address what you're asking? Is there more for your question? Yep, absolutely. Great. Okay, no problem. Any other thoughts or questions or comments on the whole FTX, the Sam Bankman-Fried, and the kind of long-term picture for Bitcoin and crypto? I mean, let's not understate it. There's going to be an impact on this, just like Azuka said, right? There's going to be an impact, but we need to think long-term. We can't think in terms of just days or weeks. We have to think longer term than that if we're going to build African wealth, African diaspora wealth, Black wealth. We have to think longer term than just the next few weeks and, oh, it went down and it went up. We have to think in terms of the next years. I mean, think about China. 50 years ago, China was not considered to be a global power at all, right? They were considered, oh, they make some cheap stuff. You know, they were very poor. They were not, I mean, they're an ancient civilization, but they were not considered to be a global power. Look at them today. They are contending to be the leading global power in the world, contending with the US, right? So they think long-term. They think in terms of decades, not just days or weeks. And we, as African diaspora, we have to do the same thing. We can't keep thinking, oh, we had a crash, it's down for the next 2 weeks. Got to think longer than that. Just look at these last 8 years. Okay, this is not the trend. And if this really was an asset, like, oh, it's going to zero, Lord forbid. And they say that. But if you had these kind of crashes, don't you think it would have already gone to zero? Right? If it was really all going to zero, don't you think it would have already hit zero when we have Sam Bankman-Fried, we had the Terra Luna, a few months ago? Don't you think it was gone, right? But that's not what's happened. It's still sitting at $17,000. Certainly more than gold. I think gold is like 2,000 right now. Okay, so this is an asset that is not going away. Don't look for quick money, but believe, best believe, say, right? Something like the same. Best believe that it's absolutely here for a long time and probably here to stay. Okay. Any other thoughts on Terra Luna, FTX, or Terra Luna, FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, and what's going on here before I go into some of the Africa updates and diaspora updates? All right, let's go on. So let's get into some of what's happening in Africa. I think one of the most significant ones over the last 6 months. What was the date on this? This is April 27th. So was it May, June, July, August, September, October, November? About 7 months ago. Okay, so about 7 months ago, one of the most significant was the Central African Republic officially adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. They are the second country in the world to do this after El Salvador, and obviously the first African nation to do this. This is really a big deal because as quiet as it's kept, Swiss banks, America, Wall Street, the Fed, even China, they're all holding Bitcoin. Even the Bank of International Settlements is holding Bitcoin. So African nations really need to make sure that we are also holding Bitcoin, right, at a national level, right? So these governments that we have need to say, you know what, we're going to make sure we have it too, because we don't want the same thing that happened after colonization. After colonization, what happened? Well, we got rid of the colonizers. They all went back to their countries, supposedly. But what else happened? Like whatever it is, like 27 nations or something in Africa still use the CFA franc, the French currency, right? They don't control their own money. Many of the other nations across Africa, we have like Naira, whatever it is. We have, Ghana, cedis. We're losing value because they're not pegged to the dollar. And therefore, we're not holding the value of our currency. And so we're basically still dependent on Western colonizer currency. So this time around, we have to see, well, you know what? All of these Western governments, all these colonized governments, the former colonizers, they are using Bitcoin. If they're using Bitcoin quietly, we should be doing that too. So I applaud, right? I applaud the Central African Republic for actually doing this, right? This is very brave, especially in African nations, because, we get a lot of pressure and pushback from, Western powers. Good for the Central African Republic that they did this, right? So they follow El Salvador. I think El Salvador is like using volcanic energy to mine Bitcoin. They got lots of people coming to visit. I know Miami in the US is becoming like a Bitcoin hub, right? So they're becoming like the Silicon Valley of Bitcoin right now. There's a lot of activity. Singapore is doing a lot. Dubai in the Middle East is doing a lot with crypto, with Bitcoin, digital assets. We're seeing a lot of this happening right now. So in Africa, one of the really big ones, of course, is this news, the Central African Republic going in and doing this. Okay, another one, and this is from the US, right? So here we have Morehouse College, right? And this is what we call in the US a historically Black, which would be African-American college and university, right? So what Morehouse College is doing is they are actually doing their education in the metaverse. So you have metaverse land, metaverse tokens, all that kind of stuff, right? And they are pushing their education, doing classes. You could probably attend a class from Africa at, Morehouse using the metaverse, right? And it feels like you're actually in that location doing the classes. They have where you're seeing what the slave ships have been like in the transatlantic slave trade, walking around, right? You can see all this stuff. So this is in the African-American community. This is a really cool, and I know I am involved in one of the groups, Black People Crypto in the US. There's a lot of activity, a lot of excitement. The big question is regulation, what's going to happen with regulation. But we're seeing a lot of this kind of activity where people are really excited about, moving into metaverse, moving into crypto, digital assets, NFTs are going to be involved in this, right? This is some of the activities happening here in where I'm sitting at the moment in the US. Okay, so this is a really big one that's also happening. Let's take a look at some of the other news from around the diaspora here. Okay, so this is another one. All right, South Africa, was this a few months ago? South Africa is going to now be treating digital financial products, crypto assets as financial products. So they're going to regulate them, right? Declare crypto assets. They're going to have authorities licensing the platforms, which I guess we really need to hear with FTX in the US and globally what happened there, right? So South Africa is basically making crypto a first-class asset, right? They're saying, look, this is about a month ago. We are going to have crypto. Crypto is going to be right in the center of things, right in the middle of the space. It's happening right now. Now, I can't say every African nation is doing that. My own native Nigeria, I think we're still focused on the CBDC. For those who don't know what a CBDC is, a central bank digital currency. They have the e-Naira. Now that, honestly, not many people are using it from what I understand. It's not getting a lot of take up because it's basically just electronic Naira, and the Naira doesn't, unfortunately, have very much value. So that's what you get a lot more control, right? The government controls it more. So I'm not seeing a lot of take up that I'm aware of the digital Naira, e-Naira. What we are seeing, though, is there's a lot of Bitcoin activity taking place, right? So Bitcoin, which is the one I think we really should be focused on, that is being used a lot, even though in Nigeria it's not, it's not sanctioned. All right, so the SEC there is really trying to focus on having this e-Naira. But the bottom line is people are still using Bitcoin in large numbers, in droves and droves of people. Okay, so that's more news from around. Let's take a look at another one here. Remove this. And then we have Bitcoin Cash to be legal tender in St. Kitts. This is one of the Caribbean islands by March, the Prime Minister says. So Bitcoin Cash, and I do kind of wonder about this. I wonder if they meant Bitcoin because I was listening to a report about this morning. Bitcoin Cash does not have a lot of transaction volume. It has been around for a long time, but not a lot of people use it. So I'm not sure if they really meant Bitcoin, like Central African Republic. That would be a much smarter move, I think. But this is the news. I think this came out just like this week, Monday, right? That they are planning to, by next year, potentially have Bitcoin Cash as one of their legal tender in St. Kitts in the Caribbean, which will be a big deal again. I think it'll be the first Caribbean to have a crypto as legal tender. But I do hope that if they're listening to this, that they use Bitcoin and not Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin is the one you want, right? So a lot of activity in Africa and diaspora. Any thoughts or questions on some of these before we go on to more of our topics? So let me just see if anybody has any thoughts, any questions that you'd like to ask about these. All right. So at the bottom line, we're getting a lot of adoption of crypto, a lot of that happening throughout Africa, African Americans, African diaspora. I have one of the statistics, I think it said like 44% of the people buying digital assets and crypto in the US are people of color, right? So that's much more. I think traditional stock market, I think it was like 25 or 30% maybe. So a lot more engagement in these markets, which I think is a good thing. We have to be careful because of regulation, but we're definitely seeing a lot of, whether it be in the Central African Republic, whether it be Morehouse, historically Black colleges and universities, whether it be South Africa, what's happening there, whether it be in, the St. Kitts in the Caribbean. We are seeing a lot of activity in African diaspora in this space. And I think that's a good thing. I think we need to have a lot more of this. We got to keep in mind that long term, right? That long term of where this is going and where it appears to be going, instead of only thinking about, oh, we had another crash, and we've had a lot of crashes. I'm sure we're going to have more. But let's keep thinking about, when you look at your chart, open up one of your charts, just click on the logarithmic, right? Like I just said, and take a look at that chart for yourself, for any coin, but especially for Bitcoin. And you're going to see this trend. You're going to see what's happening in these markets, and the real need for that long-term thinking for all of us. And I think it connects us, right? Like I said, my team on, right? It's a way for us to, I can pay my team members, I can send funds, I can do stuff with family across, Nigeria, across the continent. And that is really beneficial for Africa and diaspora. Okay, so I think those are some of the key topics. Richard said, I think the adoption of cryptocurrency by these countries is a great step. I wish Ghana would adopt it soon. So what is going on with it in Ghana, Richard? Is Ghana thinking about adopting it? Are they friendly to it, or what's happening there?
I think they are still reluctant with this cryptocurrency idea, although we have more people who have been in the cryptocurrency and then can give the best advice as to what, how we can use it, and also adopt cryptocurrency as a medium of exchange. I think the government is reluctant.
So you said they're reluctant. You say you think they're reluctant. Is that what you said?
Yes, they are reluctant. But in the long run, we are still optimistic that we should be able to adopt it, because people are still using it here, especially for their trade, forex trade, and all that stuff. So we are just optimistic that in the long run we will be able to adopt it.
Okay, so you think in the longer term, hopefully they will maybe become more open to it. Yeah, that would be good. I think that it's a tough balance because, if African nations often want to stay in the good graces of like the World Bank and things like that, they try to stay away from crypto, like Nigeria is probably doing as well. But it's not necessarily the best thing for the people. Like I said, even though Nigeria's SEC is like, oh, don't use Bitcoin, I think we have like the #2 largest number of people percentage-wise in the world, in the country, using Bitcoin. So, hopefully the governments will do what's good for the people. Also, we're doing different things. We're talking to African governments. We had a group with the African Union last year. We're planning to do speaking with our African governments this year, talking to them about this space, right? So we are hoping to see a lot more, and also the Caribbean and African diaspora throughout, African American. We're really hoping to see a lot more of this kind of activity, this kind of adoption, I think, for Bitcoin, for crypto. I think it's really important, even in light of the Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world, because unfortunately, there's always going to be scammers. There's always going to be people who are greedy and trying to take it all for themselves. But I don't think that can stop us, but we can't be stopped by that and allow that to prevent us from also benefiting, right? Just like China had that long-term vision 50 years ago, we have to have that kind of vision now for Africa, for diaspora as well right now. So Richard, that's a great point. And we hope Ghana does adopt it. Other thoughts there on kind of what's happening around Africa and the diaspora in terms of crypto adoption? All right, cool. So we're going to go to the Q&A then, Q&A part of this session. And the AMA, Ask Me Anything, right? So question and answer, any questions you have. I think there's a question up here. No, I'll just go ahead and share that with the group. If you're okay with that, you said, do we have any info on what's developing in ENS domains in the Web3 space? How is it easy to register for domain names? Also, if you can make any use of such domain names currently in business and elsewhere. There are some domain names, as far as I know, the unstoppable domains, which are registered on a blockchain. I think there are other ones that are coming out as well. So I think like you have certain like Twitter handles and stuff like on the blockchain. There are different things that you can do right now and you can register. I think unstoppable domains is the main one that I'm aware of. There are some named domains that you can get. It's kind of like the early days of the World Wide Web. I don't know how many people have gotten those at this point. I should probably check into it. So it is available. And again, I think the main one that I'm aware of, I'm not sure, Azuka or anybody else, if you know of other domains for Web3 and being able to register domain names. Is anybody, or Azuka or anybody, aware of any others?
We do have the ENS domain, the one for Ethereum on the Ethereum network.
Okay, and I haven't looked deeply into that. Is it getting a lot of people purchasing those domains or buying those?
I think Ethereum domain name, the ENS, would have probably the second biggest users. Right now that the Ethereum blockchain and transaction fees are down, more people would be buying into those domain names as they are very unique and easy. I do have some of the domain as well. It's easy to purchase. You could connect it to your wallet address and receive crypto using your wallet address. It's easy and all. So yeah.
Okay. Noel, does that answer your question about the ENS domains and other blockchain Web3 domains that you can buy?
For now, yes. Thank you very much, John.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll ask other questions. If other people have other questions that they'd like to ask, any topic related to, what's happening in the markets right now, Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, what happened with Luna earlier this year. Obviously, we've had a couple of crashes this year, right? And the first crash really was not only a crypto crash. The first crash of the year, let's look back at the year, right? The first crash of this year was really, so we were way up here, obviously, coming into the beginning of the year. We had a crash around June right here. This is a pretty big hit. We've been sitting up around whatever, 30,000, and boom, it went down like 20. And this was when we had the Terra Luna, right? So that was our first one. And then we've had a second one here, which has brought us to about 17,000 now. Okay, so we've had a couple of big crashes throughout this year overall. But again, like I said, that's linear. Let's see what that looks like, logarithmic. Okay, so we've had those drops. But again, if we look at it in the bigger picture, logarithmic, we can see the overall trend has been fairly consistent. And usually we have the halving. So we have the 2020 halving, we get a peak. It has gone up here, 63,000. And then we had another one, which had been 4 years prior to that, which was around 2016. So you had another peak after that one, right? And you had another halving, which should have been back in 2012. So about 2 years after, we had a really big bull market. So you can see that pattern, right? We have the peak, we have the 4-year halving cycle. Hopefully you guys are aware of that. And then it goes up, and then it gets hit, and then it goes up again, and it goes up again. And hopefully what we're going to see is the same thing. We have another 2024 is the next halving. So hopefully what we'll see again is an even bigger rise, consistent with what we're seeing here. So keep in mind the bigger picture. Other questions, other things, feel free to ask me anything. Azuka's a great resource as well, very knowledgeable about a lot of the space and trading and everything else as well. Questions about DeFi exchanges, about Africa, the Caribbean, regulation, anything you guys want to talk about. And we'll hope to have more of these sessions more frequently, getting back to some of the Zoom sessions and having some guest speakers and things like that coming in as well. But anything else that people are wondering about, questions that weren't fully answered, please go ahead, put them in the chat, raise your hand, or just speak up, no problem. All right, sounds like we are good on questions for the day. So those are the kind of the main things, the market updates. I want to keep really the focus of, let's keep looking at the long term. Let's keep looking at what, where things can hopefully potentially go and how much of a benefit it can be for Africa diaspora and developing markets. And even though we have to be very careful about the kind of the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the crashes, we shouldn't let that be the only thing that drives our involvement in this space. Like I said, I've been able to, benefit family, friends, team members, employees, all because I'm involved in this space. So I see a lot of potential here. I really see this like the dot-com boom. For some of you might remember it. That's back around 1999 and 2000. Okay, when we had all the big fangs, the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, et cetera, Spotify, all these big companies came out of that time, right? But I can tell you, when we were in the middle of it, it was really excellent. It was like, wow, everything's going up. And then all of a sudden, everything crashed. And we were like, right? Everybody's like, oh, no, it's over. I remember we used to be over around the family table and everybody kind of talking about, oh, we're buying this stock, we're buying that stock. Everybody's so excited, but it crashed, right? But the bottom line is, after all of that, you got Facebook, you got Amazon, you got Netflix, you got Google. There are some big companies and people made a lot of money and did very well because they came through it, right? So we got to expect the up and the down. And I think as African diaspora community, kind of in the spirit of Wakanda there, right? We need to really be looking at the longer term opportunity. How can we use this? Make sure you self-custody, put it in your own wallet. Don't leave it on exchange, right? The June crash, that one hit all the markets. It hit stocks, it hit, it hit crypto, it hit everything. This one has hit crypto more, less so stocks. And I think that might be designed, but that's my opinion. But don't take your eye off what's happening longer term. Keep an eye on that. And even if you can just hold on to a little bit, hold on to it, right? And, be ready, hopefully, when the next time we start seeing really good upward movement, which could be sooner than you think, right? So I think that's all I really have for this session. I do want to share we have a link for our Telegram group. If any of you are not in the Telegram group, definitely highly recommend that you join us in that. Let me just see if I can put that link in the chat here for you guys. Give me a second. Okay, so we chat daily in the Telegram group. We talk about the upcoming events and everything that's going on. So please, if you haven't joined the Telegram group, download it, join the Telegram group, share this with others who might be interested, might want to check out what we're doing. Our goal is to keep doing this. We've been doing it since 2018, 2019. So whatever, 3-4 years now. We plan to keep it going because we really are looking at the bigger picture of what this can really do for Africa, for the diaspora, for African Americans. We really want to see that whole picture come together. And that's going to take us doing this over multiple years and continuing, and not getting, scared away because of some of the hiccups, and they're going to come. But at the end of it, I expect there's going to be the same thing, right? Back in the .com days, we used to have thousands and thousands of .com companies. We had brooms.com, nuts.com, pets, every .com you could think of. And most of them are out of business, right? They're all gone. But Facebook is still around, even though they're getting hit right now. Facebook is still around. Amazon's still around. Google's still around. And these guys are some of the biggest there are. So we should expect the same thing to happen again. And we should not get scared off just because, well, some bad things happen. That's going to happen. But we need to keep our eyes on where is the potential for this to go for all of us. Right? I think that's really about all I have. If there's no other comments or thoughts, we'll probably go ahead and get ready to cut it here. Any last thoughts? Azuka, any last thoughts for you?
Well, I'm just going to say, everybody should keep doing the research. Don't just FOMO into anything. Keep doing your own research and learning more about the space. The idea of us all being here is to keep learning and knowing what the next move is going to be and taking all the opportunities that we can, and do not over leverage yourself and your finance.
Yeah, that's really an important one. Leverage is very dangerous. In fact, that's in large part what took down FTX. So absolutely. Elizabeth, do you want to say anything? Want to share anything?
Yeah, so on my end, what I would say, as Zaka had said, you should just research before you get to invest. But I'll just generally say I'm really happy the fact that as Africans, especially the ones who are presently based in Africa, we are really, trying to learn and also embrace crypto in general. And the fact that it's really growing quickly and slowly at the same time is really amazing. And it's touching, all kind of ages, both the young and the old. Because if you look at countries like part of Nigeria and also South Africa, we have even the old folks using, Binance and just crypto to do their transactions. So I would say that's, that's a point of growth. And generally, there's so much potential. And, for those who still are new, it's a very nice space to learn more about what's happening in the market, because any changes that go in the crypto world generally just says about how the market is going to be today, tomorrow. So at the end of the day, and today what I've learned is that you have to just be careful with your account and your wallet, and you have to be always learning every day and updating yourself, and just being on the lookout on where the grass is greener on the other side. But all in all, I think patience pays somehow. So if you invest today, I think you'll be rich on the long run. I think that's what I've taken home today. Yeah.
Richard, did you want to give any closing thoughts?
I think like when Elizabeth said, it's very important to keep up to date to the trends. And then it's never too late. I think if you want to buy some BTC, it's never too late to buy. The goal is to have the long run idea, and then you definitely will from it as well. I think so that would be
Yeah, very good. Wendy, any thoughts for you? Any closing thoughts or comments?
Hi, I think mine is simple. Is that we shouldn't keep our accounts or our keys away, and then we shouldn't invest in just one platform, and then we should try and transfer our funds to other platforms. And also, we shouldn't give up on crypto or on Bitcoin because of all the rumors or all the things that are happening. We should not really give up on it. We should keep on exploring. We should keep on learning. And yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I think we need to, have caution, but keep on learning, because this is something, where we have a real shot of, leading the way and coming up with our own kind of like African and diaspora future, rather than, just following what everybody else is doing. So absolutely. Okay, so good. Let's see who else. Eve, do you want to make any last thought or comment on it? Or Eve's iPad, is that Eve?
It has been a really nice session. I've learned a lot, considering the fact that I didn't know too much about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and now I see from a totally different perspective, and it's something that I would want to actually learn more. So definitely looking out for more sessions like this to join, to learn. Maybe next time I'll have questions to ask, because today I feel like I was just my baby steps, and I was just familiarizing with everything. Yeah, it was a really nice session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it. Noel, any last thought?
Are you asking me, John?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. The only thing I will probably add is that when people come into the space, to have awareness of the distinction between centralized finance and decentralized finance. Centralized finance, you could probably know that you're going in that direction when they ask you for your customer information. And when you're dealing with DeFi, when you interact with decentralized exchanges, you actually ask permission before you do any transactions, so you know that you're in control. And as you say, to have a cold wallet, so you can control or be self-custody of your assets.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding the difference between DeFi and centralized is really essential right now, especially. And, like you said, self-custody, and make sure you take control of your own assets and understand that you are your own bank. So yeah, those are great points, Noel. Eve, did you want to say anything? Is it Eve? Or Eve's iPad?
No.
Is that yours, Ivy?
No.
All right. What else do we have still on? Christian, are you still there? Do you want to say anything? Adiza, any other thought? All right, I think we are good then. We'll go ahead and close it out. Richard, we're going to try to get at least maybe one per quarter of these and get some guests. Yep, there's information for my contact as well as my company's contact, Auspicious Blockchain, Agile Blockchain, and you can see that in the chat. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you can find me personally there as well. And our Telegram group information, if you guys want to join the conversation for the meetups, please do that. We'll be looking to have interesting guests. We'll be doing a lot more with the Africa lobby in Congress to be able to kind of talk to African nations about this, African diaspora as well. So look out for those coming up. It's been a while since we've done these live ones. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let people know about it, and we'll keep the conversation going. Thanks, everyone. And well, until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Good night. Oh, good
Yep,
afternoon.
thanks, John.